let's get right into it. Number 7. Fork etiquette is a weapon. Ever wondered why you're supposed to hold a fork in your left hand and a knife in your right like some kind of medieval duelist? Yeah, turns out that has nothing to do with fine dining and everything to do with intimidation. Back in Europe, fancy table manners were basically a silent way of saying, "Look at me, I'm so civilized, I won't stab you, probably." The fork wasn't even common in Europe until about the 11th century, and when it showed up, people called it the devil's instrument, because apparently, eating spaghetti with your hands was considered more holy. Fast forward a few centuries, and suddenly holding utensils properly was a class marker. The nobility wanted to separate themselves from peasants, so they invented complicated rules about which hand goes where. It's like history's first user interface problem, except instead of buttons, you got shamed at dinner. And the really dumb part? We still do this, somewhere right now. A kid is being scolded by their grandma for not holding a fork like a Victorian gentleman. Meanwhile, the actual origin of the rule is basically, my family was rich enough not to eat with our fingers. Congratulations, your dinner posture is cosplay for the upper class of 400 years ago. Basically, you're not eating wrong, you're just ignoring a medieval anxiety attack. Number 6, don't wear white after Labor Day. Here's a rule that sounds like it was written by your nosy great aunt, but it's actually a leftover from rich people's petty wars. In the late 1800s, the wealthy elite in America had a problem: new money. Suddenly, industrial millionaires were showing up to parties, and the old money families couldn't stand it, so they invented a bunch of fake rules to spot outsiders. One of them? Don't wear white after Labor Day. See? White clothing was associated with summer vacations, leisure, and showing off that you didn't have to work in the sun. If you wore it past September, it was seen as tacky, like you didn't understand the secret codes of the aristocracy. In other words, this wasn't about fashion, it was about gatekeeping. And somehow, it stuck. To this day, fashion magazines still whisper about this nonsense like it's written in the Constitution. Meanwhile, the entire purpose of the rule, flexing on new money, is laughably obsolete. Nobody at Target cares what color your pants are, so the next time someone side-eyes your white hoodie in October, just remember, you're breaking a rule designed by rich people who were mad other rich people existed. Number 5. Handshakes for trust. You know that awkward dance where two humans grab each other's hands and just pump them like a broken bicycle tire? Yeah, that's a handshake, supposedly polite, but actually a leftover ritual from when people were worried about being stabbed at brunch. The original handshake wasn't about saying hi, it was about proving you weren't holding a weapon. By extending your right hand, the hand most people used for stabbing, you showed, "Look, nothing up my sleeve. No dagger, we're good." Sometimes people even shook up and down to physically dislodge any hidden blades. Basically, it was TSA for medieval peasants. Over time, it got rebranded as a trust gesture. In Rome, generals used elaborate handclasps to seal deals, and by the 17th century, Quakers were shaking hands instead of bowing because it felt more equal. Fast forward, and now it's this universal awkward ritual where you're judged on grip strength like you're auditioning for a construction job. And the kicker? During the pandemic, the handshake nearly died. Scientists were like, hey, maybe don't rub germy palms together during a global virus outbreak, but people missed it. Now it's back, proving that apparently we'd rather cling to an outdated anti-dagger ritual than admit fist bumps are just better. Number 4, saying bless you. You sneeze, someone says bless you. Seems nice, right? Except the entire tradition is one big superstition hangover. The origins are basically a mashup of ancient paranoia. Some believed sneezing expelled your soul, so people would say a blessing to keep it from escaping. Others thought sneezes invited demons in, like your nose was a spiritual open-door policy. And in the Middle Ages, during the plague, Pope Gregory supposedly told people to bless sneezes because sneezing was a sign of imminent death. Fast forward to today, and we still do it, like verbal duct tape for social awkwardness. Someone sneezes, and the room just hangs there until somebody blurts, "Bless you." Nobody even thinks about it. It's just this autopilot response. What's wild is that if you don't say it, people notice. A sneeze without a bless you feels weirdly naked, like clapping at the wrong time during a performance. And the science? Sneezing is literally just your nose's way of yeeting out irritants at 100 miles per hour. No demons, no souls, just violent mucus fireworks. But here we are, still blessing each other like medieval plague survivors, because apparently, silence after a sneeze is creepier than imagining your spirit rocketing out your nostrils. Number 3, the color white for weddings. Picture this, it's your wedding day, and you're standing there in a giant white dress that looks like you just robbed a Victorian bakery. Everyone assumes white symbolizes purity and innocence, but actually, it was just one rich woman's fashion flex. Queen Victoria wore a white gown at her wedding in 1840, not because she was sending some moral message, but because she wanted to show off this brand new lace industry in England. Before that, brides wore literally any color: red, blue, even black if you were feeling dramatic. But Victoria shows up in white. The newspapers go nuts. and suddenly white is the trendy thing. Boom! Centuries of women now have to dress like frosted cupcakes because one royal wanted to support local lace. The irony? White is also the worst possible color for a party where you're walking through grass, sweating under candles, and eating cake. It's like choosing to wear a paper napkin to a barbecue. But because of fashion history and clever marketing by bridal companies, everyone now believes white equals pure. So yeah, the giant white wedding dress is less about virtue and more about keeping up with a 19th century influencer. Number 2. Knives as wedding gifts. Here's a fun one. In some cultures, giving knives as a wedding gift is still seen as totally normal, romantic, right? Just what every couple wants, a sharp object symbolizing their cutting-edge relationship. But the tradition is rooted in pure superstition. Knives were thought to cut the bond between people. So if you gave someone a knife, it meant you were basically severing the friendship. To avoid that, people would buy the knife off you with a penny or coin, symbolically keeping the relationship intact. And yet, knives kept sneaking their way into weddings as these practical gifts. Couples in the 1800s were like, here's a set of knives, may your love never dull. Which is funny, because nothing screams eternal romance like a tool designed to chop onions and possibly sever fingers. The tradition still hangs around, mostly out of habit. But hey, at least it's not as bad as the old superstition that dropping a knife meant a stranger was coming over. Imagine living in a world where clumsiness equals unexpected house guests. No thank you. Number 1. Blowing out birthday candles. You stand over a cake, everyone sings, you close your eyes, make a wish, then blow spit directly onto communal food. Happy birthday. The whole ritual is way older than you think. Ancient Greeks used candles on cakes as offerings to Artemis, the moon goddess. The smoke carried prayers to the heavens. Over time, Germans in the 18th century turned it into Kinderfest, birthday parties with candles symbolizing the light of life. But here's where it gets cursed. Blowing them out was tied to warding off evil spirits, because birthdays were believed to be when you were most vulnerable to demons. Now fast forward, and it's just this awkward party moment where everyone stares while you exhale on their dessert. Modern science even tested it. Turns out blowing out candles increases bacteria on the cake by up to 1,400%, which means every birthday you've ever attended has been a saliva-sharing festival with frosting. So yeah, blowing out candles isn't just outdated, it's basically a demon-fighting ritual turned into a germ-spreading party trick. Congrats, you survived another year and probably shared strep throat. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.